PCB is thinking of fining the players for underperforming, roughly in the tune of, I think, 40 lakh Pakistani, which is about 15 lakh Indian rupees.
16.45.
Yeah, 15, 16 lakh Indian rupees each player. So I've heard of teams getting like cash rewards, and then I've heard of situations where teams don't get a cash reward. This is the very first time where teams are asked that you will have to pay a penalty for this sort of a performance.
I think,
can you think of any other?
I think I know where this came from.
Where did this happen?
I think this inspiration came from remember the Bangladesh stand-in guy had said, Nazmul Islam, I think. He'd said that we'll be fining the players for all the underperformance that has happened, etc., etc. And then he got ousted.
But that was still a threat.
Yeah,
no one really
threat.
went.
I'm just saying they got inspired from that.
They're like, I want some of that action.
Yeah, like let's see how this works.
Blame it on Nazmul.
Nazmul.
He's the one. And he's out anyway.
No, then they brought him back. They brought him back after the boycott was done. So I don't quite know what was going on there. They brought him back. So
anyway, but yeah, have you seen on any sport it actually happened? I can't think.
I mean, in football, I've heard of players get fined if they turn up late for training too often or something.
That's another.
But not underperformance for crying out loud.
Yeah.
For underperforming.
Underperforming, no.
I mean, the worst I've heard is like players getting sacked or asked to retire and things like that.
Or like their contracts being terminated, so you pay them off.
Or worse than this, players have been shot as well.
Escobar.
Shot dead.
Escobar.
Shot dead. But then that has not been an action taken by the government or, for that matter, the association.
Yeah.
Those are rogue fans, right? That have done it.
Cartel members.
Yeah, the Colombian cartel, of course. Because they must have bet a lot of money and then they lost that money, so they took it out on somebody. But no, so that has happened, but
Now
I can't think of any
Mexican cartel
association.
But not for football, I mean.
Yeah, because of
because Mexico is going to be hosting. I'm just saying, it had nothing to do with football. It's just the authorities actually managed to get
They were just, I think, entertaining times ahead.
Oh, yeah.
No, but as I said, those things apart, those stray incidents apart, and that is also always happened from the outside, things that are uncontrollable, like a gangster or a cartel doing something, the association has nothing to do with it. But I've never heard of an association. Again, I know of this, that you've had a situation where teams haven't been paid their money. That also I know. Not that they've been fined, but because you've run out of funds and association. It's happened in India also in lesser known sports where players haven't been paid for a very long time, and those things have happened. In Pakistan, quite recently, you had a situation where the hockey team didn't have any money. They had to be, in fact, that reminds me, one of their content creators, the clips keep coming, and he said after Pakistan, I think he's the one who gave the idea. He went on a rant, as always, saying that the way they have performed, they should be treated like our hockey team. They should be made to sit out of the hotel and clean their own utensils and wash their own clothes, because that is what they deserve, after Pakistan got knocked out.
Of course.
So I think from there they took it. Now that we've already paid for their hotels and they've even landed back. Now what do?
Fine.
Let's fine them. 16 lakhs. So it's never happened before in sport where you are actually fining the players. I can't think of. But what do you make of whoever came up with the genius idea? Mohsin Naqvi?
Seems like something he would just think of and be like, I'm such a genius.
But I still want to know, is it confirmed? Because there's only one media.
It's all source-based.
No. It is now more, even Bradman's talking about it now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then it's got a certain degree of, certain degree of credibility.
Legitimacy, let's say.
Really? I mean, they're actually going to be finding them. No, because I saw that report and I saw it early in the morning and I was like, it is one media outlet. Sometimes there's a lot of kite flying. But now that majority websites are reporting, even credible ones, as Harshit is pointing out, that means there is still a thought. See, though it's not happened, there is a possibility that...
In fact, that credible website says PCB fines.
So since the fine's been done.
Yes.
That's in fact what Express Sports said
USD.
also.
So how will the fine have? They won't get the match fee. I'm guessing that, right?
Possibly that.
But would the match fee be so high anyway? Across all these matches, perhaps you could arrive at this
you may
number.
be giving them match fees. You don't give them on a daily basis. Right? So
accrued.
let's say the next sum that is going to go to them, they're going to cut it.
In fact, confirmed.
It's confirmed. Unbelievable, yeah.
Confirmed. All of Pakistan squad members of the T20
This is,
World Cup.
by the way, can I be, we saw Pakistan play, we criticized them for their performance, and, a lot of Indians celebrated when Pakistan got knocked out. There is that animosity, there is that rivalry, so you know that. Same would have happened in Pakistan if India not made it. They already, a lot of their former players are saying so. But despite that, I'll have to say that no matter how much you want India to beat Pakistan, no matter how much as an Indian fan you wanted Pakistan to miss out on the semi-final, I'll still say that this is rather unfair to any player. I think this is, and if you're a sport fan anywhere or a journalist or anyone, I think it's time that you side by the players, because no player, as bad as Pakistan were in this tournament, deserves to be fined like that. I think this needs to be called out, because then this will embolden a lot of other associations going forward. Anyway, players are now at the mercy of associations and boards, and if this is allowed, see, the one way is we can all sit and laugh at it and look at the state of Pakistan cricket. But the other thing is, if you just look at it as a sport, and each sports person I think deserves respect, especially the one that has played for the country. That's why a lot of time when there is an India-Pakistan thing and people around covering a game, and then they want us to, as journalists, be rude to Pakistani players, and I often say I will not do it, because I respect anyone who has gone through the tough rigmarole and reached international level cricket. I have respect, highest respect for any player. Anyone who plays professional sport has had to go through a very tough road of hard work, sacrifices, to reach that level. So I respect all sports people. And in that sense, now, rather than me laughing at there, which is an easy thing to do, but I'm actually feeling sad, because the players don't deserve it.
I have
None of them.
one thing to say as well. I think this is rather obscene of the board to be doing this. It's an obscene penalty. Just think about somebody like a Sahibzada Farhan.
No, but I'm saying even, he just because he's performed, anybody.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
saying any player who goes to play wants to underperform. He enjoys it.
Nobody wants to do that. I'm just saying, even if you're doing that.
In fact, that will be worse, Harshit. That, Sahibzada, then it will
You won't get fined.
Your remuneration will depend on how many runs you get. So like you go stand there for your dihadi, like those daily wage workers, they go to the munshi who gives the money. He says how many hours you work, based on those many hours, this is your thing. No, that is even worse.
My point is that even somebody like a Sahibzada Farhan, I'm not saying that this way of penalizing the team is right. I'm just saying, for somebody who's performed, it's team sport after all. He's probably going to be the record holder for the number of runs that he scored after 6 matches.
He is already a record holder.
Exactly. Yeah. So after Super A stage, somebody's just broken records. He's gone past a Virat Kohli. He's done all of that, and you're asking him to pay a fine on top of that. Talk about motivating players. This is how it works then in Pakistan cricket. I'm not saying this is the way to go about. Of course, players will anyway be paying for it, not literally by virtue of paying a fine, but by virtue of losing out on their place. Can a dismal campaign like this have a Babar Azam or some of the other players as well retain their spot? This is the kind of cost you pay as an athlete. You give up on your place. You don't want to, but this is what happens, right? You put on the chopping block. That's life of an athlete. Sure enough, from this disastrous campaign, people will end up losing the and that is the cost that they pay. Perhaps it will reflect in their central contracts. Perhaps it will reflect in their endorsements, and so many other ways as well. It will obviously mean giving up on so much of international cricket as well, which is priceless for any top tier athlete. Now that is acceptable, right? If you put on the chopping block, but you are asking them to pay a fine and all. That's not done. That's not done.
Absolutely.
It's a case of like the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. So you've been overlords and given them, saying that we'll.
But Ashin, on that, let it not all, it's not a favor that any board is doing.
Exactly. You're paying them to do their job.
Yeah, they've earned their right to play.
Exactly. And if there's that much revenue that is generated, then players deserve a lion's share of it, or not at least the lion's share, at least their fair share of it. Now you're saying, they've not performed, we're going to fine them. What good does that do anyone? You've killed off whatever morale was there. Anyway, they wouldn't have been feeling great about the fact that they lost out on a spot in the semis via technicality. Let's be very fair. They're already feeling this thing, and you've kicked them when they're down. Congrats. Great job.
Did anyone say, let's say India got knocked out in 2021 World Cup, round 1, right? And all of us were critical of the Indian team. Fans were too. There have been many disappointments that have come along the way. Okay? Adelaide, you got knocked out in the semi-final in a very one-sided encounter. Anything not making it a final is seen as a bit of a failure. That World Cup, Pakistan played the final as well.
Yeah.
But I'm saying never has there ever been a thought within the BCCI or by the Indian government or by Indian fans to ever penalize the player. The worst criticism that comes is drop kar do. Yeah, his time is up. You know, he is
Which is a way of
overstayed his welcome,
penalizing.
which is fine.
Which is acceptable.
Which is fine. And at worst, people, they only like the old fuddy-duddy uncles would, at one worst case scenario, would say, yeah, these players are spoiled. How much money they get in IPL, it spoiled them. That's the only criticism. But no one said, fine them and take that money away. And by the way, you are fining the players. Is it only the players? What about the person who's fining it, Mohsin Naqvi? He held the team hostage. They didn't even know whether they'll play India or not. You put pressure on them. You go to practice sessions and have conversations with them, add more pressure. You land up in Colombo and ask the team. And I know that some members of the team had dinner plans they were supposed to go. They were all told, cancel your plans. Mr. Naqvi wants to meet you. They all had to go and do salam in front of Mr. Naqvi and meet him. So how about the pressure that he's putting? Is he making everything available to the team to perform at the optimal level? By the way, the core reason why Pakistan cricket has had a downfall is because their structure is flawed. If you listen to their former players, why is it that Pakistan is not producing? One, the economy is in the doldrums. That is also for which the government is responsible, of which Mr. Mohsin Naqvi is part of it. Secondly, the cricketing infrastructure has gone down. I used to hear that, the bank level cricket used to be top notch. All these top bowlers would come, they would have bank competition which would give you employment, and that level of cricket would happen. I believe the domestic structure is in shambles.
Is shambolic.
Absolutely. So who's responsible for that? You're blaming the player, but you're not looking at the larger people. The people who are fining them are the ones who are responsible for Pakistan's economy as well as their state of their domestic cricket, and you're fining the players.
And it's not just the Mohsin Naqvi. What about successive ex-PCB chiefs who've come, not done anything for the sport, made it worse?
Yeah.
It's a structural issue. The talent that they are producing is a result of the flawed structure that they have. Simple as that.
I can't remember in the last 10 to 15 years one PCB management that got plaudits and praise from retired cricketers of their own board, of their own team. Nobody has ever had a nice thing or two to say. You've had several hats change. You've had several new incumbents. But has there been praise for any single entity or any material change that we've seen? You've not seen anything. It's the same game being played all over again, that of blame. The blame game.
So the person who robbed the trophy cho, is the one who's fining them.
Oh, since his name has come up, is this a way of funding the hockey team? Because I remember he'd put his hand up wanting to be...
Again, I actually
helping
felt
out.
bad for the hockey players as well. Because I say I always respect sports people on the number of sacrifices they made. And when we saw that story, we covered it on Sports Today as well, primarily because of any international players, they were washing their dishes and doing their clothes.
They were cleaning their own
Made to
washrooms.
sit out. They didn't have a hotel room. For hours they
Cleaning
had
their
to
own
sit out.
washrooms.
Yeah. So
How sickening does it get?
yeah. But Mr. Mohsin Naqvi travelled to Sri Lanka in his private jet.
Convoy.
And so who will pay the cost of that?
Taxpayers.
This fine saved. This fine which we had to give will be now fine which will go into the private jet that helped him fly from Pakistan and land in Sri Lanka.
Shameful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're only ruining it further. And I have to say that I really feel for the players. No international player deserve this.
Yeah.
It's not like they're going out there with the intention to underperform. If this is the best you've got and that's where you're reaching, then you need to take a good hard look inside and say, what are we doing that we are not able to have a consistent stream of talent? Maybe we're the problem. No, it's the players. Too easy. Too easy a target.
Maybe Shoaib Akhtar was right in his criticism, though he's now done a U-turn.
U-turn is made. Yeah.
U-turn again.
He had said about the management. and then made a U-turn.
Illiterate person, is that he
Ah.
called him.
And now he's saying it's very good.
Nicest man.
The problem is the people around him are bad.
Sure. Sure, I believe you.
They say Chandigarh is the most planned city, well planned city. Lot of roundabouts, everything's well planned. Pakistan, too many U-turns or what?
Yes.
Not too far away, but everyone's
I've
just
been there, so
Did you notice too many U-turns?
same.
Then
as-
what comes into the how is it an ingrained trait then that everyone's just making U-turns?